We didn't have any interference in the editing process because we cut it in Michigan, but Dino De Laurentiis was part of it. And we met with him a couple of times and we had a screening with him a couple of times. But Sam kept it in Michigan for that reason, is to be able to cut his version first. They knew exactly what they wanted. They knew how they wanted to have it put together. Sam knew exactly how the dailies were going to go. I mean, he's an incredible director. He was cutting it in his head while he was shooting it, which is, really impressive to me. I was very nervous. We had a moviola, a stand-up moviola, and they have teeth that go through that you put the film through. And I accidentally caught my fingers in the teeth, and my fingers went through the teeth and kind of started bleeding a little bit, and I got it, and I was so bummed out because it was on the film, and I'm laughing, and my assistant editors, of course, are getting a big kick out of this. And I turn around, and Sam looks like he's gonna toss it. And I said, Sam, are you okay? And he said, yeah, the sight of blood really bothers me.
We didn't really want to deal with the ratings people. They didn't like us, and we thought that, showing a film like that to a bunch of people who are part of the PTA just didn't seem like it was going to work.
We didn't try to get any kind of a rating. That was not an issue. It was just putting the movie together, and the MPAA wanted us to make changes, and Sam didn't want to make them.
We were contracted to deliver an R-rated movie with Dino, but it wasn't going to happen.
We were never going to get an R, and I don't think anybody really cared about that.
We found this with Evil Dead, that if your movie's unrated, some newspapers will not take the ad, and some TV stations will not show your 2-minute trailer because they just don't know what it is. So we had to form Rosebud Releasing, and we actually filmed the logo of the rose at the beginning of the movie. Sam Raimi photographed that, and we created this logo like it was this company, but we created a false distribution company for some strange reason to get around all this various stuff.
Now, from the creator of Evil Dead comes Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn.
We all snuck into a test screening. Bob, Greg, and myself ran to the theater and waited in line, and we saw Sam and Rob, and we're like, oh, they can't see us, so we'll get kicked out. So we kind of hid as they walked past, and we went in and watched it, and afterwards we walked down and we saw them. We're like, that movie rocked, that was awesome. We loved it, And it was really, really fun. We really loved the movie.
I thought it was incredibly well done. It was very fast-paced, and the audience was really into it when I was there. So that was a big, plus, and it made me feel like, I think this is really going to work.
I loved it. I thought it was great, though it was very hard to figure out if you were supposed to laugh or be scared.
I remember thinking, God, this is like a remake of the first movie, but it's funny, like really funny. And I was like, was this supposed to be funny? Because everyone around me is laughing, and I'm kind of going, is this supposed to be like this?
As the movie started to roll, I was starting to become kind of appalled at what I had worked on, and my friend was laughing beside me, and I was getting a little irate. I thought he was making fun, and I said, why are you laughing at this picture? And he goes, don't you get it? And I go, no, I don't understand. He goes, it's a dark comedy.
The reactions to that movie are really special because they just don't know how to deal with it. Should I laugh? Should I scream? I don't know what to do.
I would say that just the only thing that was sort of, that was not a disappointment, but it took a while before Evil Dead did become, obviously what it is today.
Unfortunately with us, like Witchboard, I think beat us, on opening day, which was fine. But I think, overall and in retrospect, obviously Evil Dead 2 has done very well.
And I think that goes for a lot of films, that stand out, that don't, maybe are so different that, they don't do as well at the beginning, but later on they actually come back and they become these classics, that people look at and it's like, that was very unique.
Nobody can ever pick what a cult classic is going to be. It's the same thing as a classic. It's just either it survives or it doesn't, and Evil Dead 2 really seems to have shown that it has legs.
Well, I'm always glad when people like these movies so much later, but I think hopefully it means that we put enough time and effort into it back at that time to make something that's not your standard horror movie.
8 or 9 years after the film came out, a friend of mine told me she was taking a class at NYU and they were spending about 6 weeks studying Evil Dead 2.
It's interesting that it continues to come up no matter where I am, no matter what I'm doing professionally, no matter, what type of person I'm around. Somebody around me knows me, either recognizes me, knows somebody who knows me, who knew I did that. So it's been very unexpected.
The coolest thing for me is 25 years later to go to work where I work now, to be on the air, get off the air, and have somebody who just became a production coordinator who's 22 years old come up with a Sharpie and a Blu-ray of Evil Dead 2 and say, dude, would you sign that? Please? Is that cool? I'm like, really? Yeah? That's the greatest thing. That another generation and another generation is still enjoying this thing and still getting it. They're still along with us. And I think that's the coolest thing about the movie. It's like a great classic rock album or something. Next generation still loves it.
It's really nice to have been a part of something that has been so embraced by a genre, and I'm kind of tickled. 25 years later, Evil Dead 2 is still alive and kicking, and people are still loving it.
We gave our all for it. I worked my ass off on that film for 6 months and put in a lot of effort, and we knew it all pay off in a big way. We didn't know how big, but I think everybody involved really gave it so much heart and soul.
To this day, I actually think it's Sam's best movie, but that's my own personal thing. It had everything I would want in a horror movie. It was funny, it was scary, it had energy. You had a star in the making with Bruce, and you had a great visual style.
Creatively, it was great too because we were trying to do again a small budgeted movie, and I thought with the style that he shot it in and everything, all the gags worked perfectly in the film.
It wasn't about perfection. We weren't making a perfect film, Certainly there's tons of mistakes and hiccups through the whole film, but it adds to the fun of it. There's something about imperfections that work for film. It's something actually that I think a lot about, and how it is nowadays where movies are tailored to be perfect on every regards, and to me that makes them feel synthetic and not organic by any means. They've been so overworked and polished that they don't feel like real movies.
It's one of those things that I think that Hollywood would love to find the formula for that, but it's very elusive. It's just like all the planets seem to line up.
It felt like a bunch of kids making a movie in their basement. It really did. And that's what made it really fun. There was no high pressure, there wasn't yelling, there wasn't, studio involvement, there wasn't, 500 people sitting on set telling you what it should be. It was Sam Raimi directing a movie about a bunch of goofy stuff with a bunch of goofy guys, and it was really, really fun.
So Evil Dead 2, of all the Evil Dead movies, still is the closest to my heart for being a functioning set, functioning production. We were better at what we could do, and it wasn't a disaster, and it made money. It kind of got me started in my own genre path. Evil Dead 2 always leaves a good taste in my mouth.
Groovy.
Thank you.